Hello everyone, welcome to my online prep. Today we'll be studying the fourth and last part of chapter 2, organizational behavior. In this chapter, we'll be studying about the Kaizen method to quality improvement, positive attitude and its importance, stress management, in which we'll be studying about the causes of stress as well as how to deal with it, and we will see the different business etiquettes that are required in an organization. So let us start with the first topic. In the part 3 of this chapter, we learned about the various methods of quality improvement like total quality management, the BPR technique, quality circles, and the Six Sigma rule. But actually, at the time of the World War II, these methods they seemed to fail, and then was developed the Kaizen method. So it was developed quite early, but then it has over the decades gained more popularity and even modifications. It was brought into publicly focus or into the world by a systematic methodology in 1980s, and it was published in the best-selling book Kaizen. So it was a book by Masaki Imai. Masaki Imai was the founder of the Kaizen Institute in Japan. So it is a Japanese technique. If we move on to the method, Kaizen is a Japanese word which means improvement. It involves the various steps, the continuous efforts that are taken by the employees of each and every level in the organization to improve the quality. So it requires the involvement of every employee in the organization. Initially, it was developed for housekeeping, but later it was adopted as a sound management practices by the organization. We will try to relate it with housekeeping as well. So when we are trying to arrange our rooms or when we are trying to clean our room, the first step that we do is sorting out. It is mentioned as the first S in this method. There are 5 S, and first S is Seri, that is sort or decluttering. We need to remove the unnecessary items from the desk. Similarly, we need to remove the obstacles that are stopping us from achieving the goal of the organization. Second is setting order. Now, for more cleanliness, we need to set in order. We need to arrange our desk or any other factor. Similarly, prioritizing the work that is to be completed first, we need to prioritize it. This is done in the organization. Third step is CISO or shine. Now, shine means cleanliness. Cleanliness, the desktop, offices, it should produce positive atmosphere. Machines and equipment should be kept clean and maintained regularly to prevent any depreciation. Fourth step is Siketsu, that is standardize. Now we need to benchmark, we need to use the scientific method in which the work will be done in a standard format to maintain a level of quality. After that, finally, the fifth step is Shitsuke, that refers to discipline and sustainability. These are the rules and the regulations that are followed in the organization. So, herein, dedication should be embraced and procrastination should be avoided, and the work should be done in a sustainable manner, avoiding the wastage of resources. So, this is the Kaizen method. An organization can improve its functioning, the processes, and its products and services by using this method, by using the 5 S that are mentioned. Next topic is positive attitude. It is referred to as the core behavioral capital of organizations. This is because the individuals, if they have a positive attitude, they would be motivated, they would be willing to perform better and give their 100%. Now, the performance of human beings is the product of two factors. It is the ability and willingness of the employees. Ability refers to the skills, knowledge and experience, and willingness refers to whether or not they are wishing to perform better. In order to ensure the high performance levels of the employees, there is every need to enhance both these factors, that is ability to perform as well as willingness to perform. Now, ability to perform, it is based on the educational background and training which the employees receives from the employer. Thus, it is relatively easier to enhance through external interventions. There can be training and development that can increase the ability to perform. However, willingness to perform is solely determined by the intrinsic traits, and herein these are in the form of the attitudes, behaviors, values, motives, perceptions, beliefs, etc. So these are personal and they cannot be affected by external factors by the employer, meaning that the employee here exhibits more willingness towards the work if and when he nurtures and develops a constructive and positive attitude. So if they have a positive attitude towards the responsibility, they would have higher willingness to perform. Now, here all the aspects that are subject matters of inherent traits, so the individuals are not amendable for research. But attitudes, they can be defined as a predisposition to respond in a favorable or unfavorable way. Attitude can tell us, we can predict how the individual is going to behave in the future in a particular situation, and it is how the person in one's environment will behave. When we like or dislike something, we are in fact expressing our attitudes towards the person. So how is positive attitude necessary? Individuals that are having a positive attitude, they have personality traits that can be recognized easily. They have generally high self-esteem, as well as they like challenging goals in their lives. They have passion and determination to achieve their goals. They're highly confident, they're optimists, they think positively, and they spend much of their time in improving themselves. Thus, people who have a positive attitude will also have a high willingness to work. Both of these factors are there. Thus, it is very important to build a positive attitude. Now, how can we sustain positive attitudes in the organizations? Managers can use some strategies to build and sustain positive attitudes in organizations. Now, this is not an easy task because attitudes are formed during our childhood. Our childhood atmosphere and the behavior of the people around us will determine if we have a positive or a negative attitude. However, the manager should take each and every step possible for developing the feasible mechanisms that can reinforce the positive attitudes among its workforce that will improve the organizational performance. So, attitudes are often learned from the people with whom a person interacts, and the same is translated into action. Some of the strategies that the managers can use: first, identification of employees with negative attitudes and to counsel them. This is the first step. The organization should identify the employees that have negative attitudes and behaviors through the attitudinal survey exercises. These surveys will bring in focus the individuals who have negative attitudes that can affect the atmosphere of the organization. Next step would be conducting counseling sessions and workshop that would help them educate, that would help them redesign their attitudes, that is to educate and impress them the need to change such attitudes that lead to low performance. So this is the first strategy. Second, disseminate the need for imbibing positive attitudes. Since the perceptions and beliefs being the foundations for forming the attitude, the organization should communicate such information as is required to enable employees to develop a positive feeling to a particular object. This is not an easy task for the organizations because human nature generally resists change. They do not want to change their attitudes. But however, organizations need to employ feasible and suitable interventions to overcome this resistance. And this can be achieved through either positive measurements, these are the positive measures, that is through persuasion, education, reward, or even negative measures. There are positive measures and then there are negative measures like reprimands and punishments. So these two methods can be used. Another technique could be effective communication of the policies and decisions. Now, it is very important that in an employee-friendly manner, the organization communicates its policies and decisions that are likely to influence the assessment of employees' performance. They should be told about the positive behaviors or attitudes that would give them rewards, as well as the negative ones that would lead to punishment. so that they can accordingly manage and change their behavior. And finally, creating a healthy organizational climate is very important. A climate that fosters the growth and development of positive attitude will lead to positive changes. Such organizational climate, it has a strong influence on the employee performance. Thus, it should be responsive to attitudinal changes. However, in case the organization fails to change the direction of attitudes despite its strong efforts, then they can, as a last resort, use the negative interventions method, that is known as the carrot and stick policy. Herein, they can use the negative interventions or the negative reinforcements as an instrument to change the undesirable attitude. For this purpose, punishments can be used. So they need to identify the negative or the undesirable behavior, and every time they see this, a fear needs to be instilled in their mind that a punishment will be given. The severity of the punishment will generally influence the time span for attitudinal change. So herein, although this can work, but it is only for the short time. For the long time and sustainable positive changes in the attitudes, the organization needs to use the positive strategies. Next topic is stress management. Now, to achieve the success in human resource management, it is very essential to understand the amount of stress that is being carried by the human beings in the ever changing and challenging lifestyle. In today's time, we are faced with various kind of stress, not only from our work life but also our personal lives, social media, and the political systems. So there are very high number of stress creating factors today. Various factors like globalization, mechanical lifestyles, and no cultural avenues to resort to, they have led to higher stress in the individuals. Stress is in fact a fact of life. No individual can never experience stress, but how one manages it is important. So, what is stress? Stress is a human beings how they react both physically and mentally to the changes, events, and situations in their life. So, how we will react to the changes in our life, whether these reactions they are good or they are detrimental to our health, that is referred to as the reaction, or that is referred to as the stress. Now, another commonly used term is the distress. Herein, if the situation is viewed negatively, one will likely to feel more distressed, or we can also say out of control. People, how they react to stress, it differs from one individual to another. One might like to meditate in the times of stress. Other individuals, they resort to addictions that can be detrimental in the long term as well. So herein, another form of stress is there, that is known as a youth stress, which is positive view of an event or situation. This is the good stress. A certain amount of stress is very important for us to give our best performance. It is the level of stress that helps the individual to rise to a challenge and can be an antidote to boredom because it engages focused energy. So, not all the stress is bad, but easily an energy that is positive can turn into distress if something causes the view that the situation is unmanageable or out of control. So if it becomes out of control, then this eustress becomes the distress. So in general parsons, we can say that stress is a phenomena which can be defined with the situation that causes stress. It is induced when a person perceives a gap between the demands of the situation and the capacity to meet these demands. We feel that we are out of control. Some situation is not under our control. Thus, we feel stress. Now, whatever may be the cause of stress, every stress has some common features. First, it is a physical and or mental process. It can have both implications that are physical as well as mental, and it is originated from the body response out of the physical and psychological events that the individuals experience. So, stress can have both physical, such as in stress we start hyperventilating, sweating, or we try to move a lot. Then mental process, it is a mental implication as well. and it is a part of life. If it exceeds, it becomes difficult to cope with. A certain level of stress is fine, but if it becomes unmanageable, then it is difficult to cope. It is a positive as well as negative effect. It can create positive, it can make the individual perform better, as well as it can create negative effects of the individual. It can also distress the individual so much that they're not able to perform their day-to-day activities with confidence. So it has a cumulative effect. That is, if stress is not managed well on time, then the hardships that one faces in the forthcoming period will add upon to the existing stress. So it is observed that as life is full of challenges and choices, stress has become an inseparable part of life. Thus, it would be rather incorrect to say that stress can be eliminated, but the same can only be tolerated. We can manage stress. So management of stress is important. If we are not able to manage the stress, if we are not reacting to it in the correct manner, it would be detrimental. So individuals should know what coping mechanisms can be used, how the stress can be managed, so that they can perform their activities with ease. Now let us see some of the coping strategies for stress. The coping strategies for stress, it differs from one individual to another. It depends on the behavioral patterns, personality, and attitudes of the individuals, how they are going to respond to a particular stressful situation. So it is not completely possible to avoid altogether such stressful situation, but one should have suitably, they should know what method will suit them, how they are able to manage such stress within the threshold level to avoid the negative effects of stress. Some common coping strategies have been suggested that the individuals can use. First, they can adopt effective time management techniques by proper planning the schedule of daily work priority wise. If we already have a plan in hand, for example, we have a to-do list in which we have mentioned all the tasks that we need to do today, and we can check out the tasks that have been completed. That will give us a sense of sustainability, a sense of confidence. Second, we should learn to relax. Relaxation can be done by a hobby, physical and mental exercise such as morning walk, yoga, meditation, so that we are physically and mentally relaxed. It depends on the individual. We can also set up a flexible plan in life by setting goals that are achievable. We should be practical when we are setting the goals. Very high goals that are not achievable will lead to higher stress. So keeping over expectations than the ability to achieve creates stress, and it is advisable to keep the expectations at a realistic level. We should know what we are able to do, and goals should be set as per our own capabilities. We should also learn to get along with other people and to maintain interpersonal relations, having friends and family, relatives that we can trust in so that we can talk to them in times of stress. This is also very important, that is having a comfortable environment. Next, to learn to face the things as it comes in the life. We should be ready to face difficult situations, to get physical examination in frequent intervals. Now, medical care is also important. We should get our regular sugar levels checked, BP checked, regular visits to the doctors is very important. To encourage upward communications in the organizations, the employees at the lower levels, they should be comfortable when they're talking to their group leaders or the managers. Such a comfortable situation should be created. To define the job roles properly without any ambiguity. If the individual of the organization, they know the exact responsibilities, roles as well as expectations, then they would be less stressed about any of the changes. To enhance the employee participation in decision making, this would give them a sense of power and authority. To have the required resilience in selection and personal placement of the personnel. To delegate the authority down the hierarchy to empower the subordinates. And to practice positive thinking, develop best skills, attitudes, and behaviors. This is basically to be innovative. We should foster, encourage creative and practical approach. The objective should not be penalizing them, but enable to develop and prosper. So we cannot altogether avoid stress, but we can learn to manage it and develop skills to cope with the events or situations that we find stressful. By learning to cope with stress and by recognizing the symptoms of depression and the warning signs, we will be able to be prepared not only for ourselves but also for the friends and colleagues. Similarly, in the cases of the organization, the management should realize the negative effects of high stress level among the workforce. They should create a positive and healthy environment by employing suitable stress management strategies like frequent health checkups that are organized by the organization, recreational and sports activities, suitable training inputs in the area. There should be rooms for balance, yoga, meditation, etc. Thus, stress management is very important for the organization if they want the employees to be working profoundly. Next topic is business etiquettes. Etiquettes, these are the set of manners that are expected from us whenever we are in a formal situation or even when we are in the social situation. When we are moving out of our house, there's a certain way that we should carry ourselves. This is known as etiquettes. Now, business etiquettes, these refer to the set of manners that are acceptable or required in a business or profession. The persons that are involved in the business, they expect others to behave in a certain manner. So the basic definition is that it is the forms, manners and ceremonies that are established by convention as acceptable or required in social relations, profession or in official life. It is the respect, good manners and good behavior. It is not just each of the things but all of these things. That is, our behavior should be correct, how we are treating others, how we are talking to them when we are meeting them for the first time, how we are interacting with our superiors and subordinates. All this comes under business etiquette, from the small dress code to our communication. So herein, etiquette is a code of behavior. It tells us the expectations of social behavior. And these codes were instituted during the days of ancient times and they have developed over the times. Herein, the rules of proper etiquette and protocol have been around for years and far more important in these days and the age than ever before. Thus, the institutes are also helping their students learn about the business etiquettes. Now, implementing the proper etiquette and protocol skills into the everyday life should be a habit for everyone, because a person who displays proper etiquette not only feels good about themselves but also makes those around them feel important and respected. So it is very important that business etiquettes are adopted by each and everyone that are involved in the organization. Let us more clearly understand the importance of maintaining proper etiquettes at workplace. The etiquettes that we are talking about, these are not really written down, these are not governed by any law or statute but are upheld by the general practices and customs, and it is enforced by the members of the organization. That is, those who violate the business etiquettes are considered offensive. So herein, generally the outcomes of such etiquettes, either good or bad, they shall reflect in their conduct and attitude. So maintaining a good conduct is mandated by all the well codified rules and regulations in many organizations. Also, there is penalty for any bad behavior or not maintaining the good behavior. Then there is disapproval of other organization members. And business etiquette is important because it creates a professional, mutually respectful environment. In order to achieve the business success, thus one must be able to adapt to the ever-changing situation and act with confidence. If the individual is displaying proper etiquettes, they will get an individual noticed, and obviously being noticed is great for success. So it is very important in a social setting as well as in a business setting. Now if we talk about banks, banks being the service organization, maintaining proper etiquettes at workplace and also delivering, while they're delivering service or while they're having interaction with the customers, is very essential. Any deficit in etiquettes by the workforce at large will reflect badly on the organization. It can create reputational risk for the banks. So, improving the business etiquettes can have a positive impact on the career. It is very important to remember the common courtesy, adopt the attitudes that considers others' needs and feelings on priority over that of ours. So, this behavior leads to good manners, and thus it is quite essential in the workplace. Now let us see what is the scope of etiquettes. So since the etiquettes are relating to the behaviors, the day-to-day behavior, conduct and attitudes, strictly speaking, the term etiquettes has no boundaries. For the purposes of our current study, we shall focus on the five important elements of business behavior. It involves our work behavior, how we behave when we are meeting people, our telephone etiquette as well when we are talking to them on telephone, our dining etiquette, and the etiquette for correspondence is also important. So now we will see these workplace etiquettes. Generally, they rally around following aspects. First, how we provide treatment to the clients and the customers. Second, how we treat our colleagues, co-employees and superiors. Clarity and sophistication in the communication when we are communicating with the colleagues, superiors, clients, when we are conducting ourselves during the telephonic and mobile conversations, our conduct at workplace or office, conduct during business meetings. Are we polite when we are talking to our subordinates or even our superiors? Do we have good manners? Even not only our speech but also our body language is important. People also judge our etiquettes or our manners through our body language. So our body language should match with what we are speaking. The nature of the communication, whether it is verbal, non-verbal, written, or including email or WhatsApp modes, it should be polite. We should adhere to the dress code. Like in the case of banks, a formal dress code should be there. We should not step into the formal organization wearing our home clothes. Conduct during lunch or dinner, conduct during the business sponsored social events. We are, because we are representing the organization in a social situation, so we should have a good conduct there. And finally, conduct during training. Now, what behaviors are expected under the work etiquettes? Let us discuss that. Now, before that, work life balance, it is a very important term that is being used popularly today. Work life balance here means that not only important for the health and relationships but also improve the employees productivity. When there is a work life balance, it will increase the employees productivity and ultimately the performance for the organization. In simple words, if the people in the organization, they don't view work as a chore, then they will work harder and make fewer mistakes. That is, if they like their work, then they would be willing to put in more effort. Businesses that gain reputation for encouraging the work-life balance have become very attractive. Especially the younger workers these days are looking for a work-life balance. They do not want longer working hours and no social life. So the organizations that provide the work-life balance are attracting more younger generations. Now, let us discuss some behaviors and principles that can be followed as the work etiquettes that will reflect good work behavior. First, maintain proper time management. We should be punctual. This is important not just at workplace but at any point of time. We should be punctual. We should arrive to the office and business meeting on time and catch up to the time schedules. If we delay, it would create a bad reputation. Second, exhibit proper behavior and attitude. We should be polite, cool, and present and courteous towards all, whether we are talking with the subordinates, colleagues, clients, customers, or any statutory authorities. We should be polite in our behavior. We should also be conscious about our behavior, how to act maturely, and discover the appropriate and proper office behavior. This can be done by being a good listener and attentive. Also, we should be knowledgeable about the organizational policies, rules, etc. Both written as well as unwritten. We should impress the superiors. We can do this only through our performance. So, by being conscious about the fact that career opportunities will arise if we perform better, we should not bypass the organizational hierarchy, meaning thereby we should never approach higher superiors without first informing. These are just some of the examples that show us how work etiquettes work. So, we should be knowledgeable about the policies of the organization. Then we should keep ourselves as professional as possible. Being knowledgeable also requires for us to be morally and ethically clean. These are the cornerstones for nurturing more professionalism at workplace. We should have passion for the career advancement only through the ethical means. We should in no manner resort to any kind of unethical behavior. We should accept challenge with resolve and commitment. It is well known that doctrine in the organization, especially in banks, that those who accept challenges with commitment and resolve and who have a creative blend, they are treated as more valuable key talents and can earn the attention of higher echelons. That is, if we are accepting challenges, if we are ready to resolve them, if we are ready to work with them, then it will give us higher recognition. And finally, we should be flexible in our approach or attitude, but without losing our individuality. This is also important. We should be flexible without compromising with our own principled approach, especially in the change process. It will win hearts of the people and help us attain success in enlisting support for the implementing of the planned change. Thus, etiquette is a set of the written or unwritten rules that apply to social situations, professional workplaces, and inter and intrapersonal relationships. Banking, it involves direct relations and dealing with customers and clients. So maintaining proper etiquettes at workplace are very essential for business development. So in this chapter, we have discussed how the formation of group dynamics works. It plays a vital role for the organization. There should be positive group dynamics. We have also studied about the contemporary approaches to leadership, the traditional techniques as well as the new ones. We have also studied about the necessity of positive attitudes among the workforce, how stress should be managed, and business etiquettes. So, with this chapter, you have got an understanding of how the organizations work and how they can improve their performance. With this, we have come to the end of this lesson. Keep learning with us. Thank you.